What's up, guys? It's your boy Zawolki back out with another Chris Watts video, and with us talking about the Nicole Kessinger, the gym, and so forth like that. We are going to look into the Joshua, a friend between not Nicole Kessinger, Shanann and Chris. This guy, we've looked at his wife before, but we're actually going to look at his interview because he apparently knows quite a bit, and you guys want me to watch it, commentate, put my spin on it, and I'm happy to oblige. So with that being said, grab a chair, get comfortable. Also, don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel by hitting that wiper icon down at the bottom right. Hit that bell icon next to it, so when I do post videos like this one, you guys will get that little ring notification that I've posted that video, and then you guys can watch, comment, like, and share. And again, I thank you guys so very much for the love and support. I hopefully one day will hit with that 100K goal, but I need your guys' help. Also, we're going to be watching Footsteps of Murder interview voiceover. She's the one that's going to let us know, or she's pretty much voicing chat and so forth like that. So go over to her channel, give her some love, subscribe, comment, like, and share. And with that being said, let's get into the video.
FBI was requested to assist Frederick PD in a missing persons case homicide. Joshua Rosenberg was identified as being a friend of Chris and Shanann Watts. Shanann worked with and was friends with the wife of Joshua Rosenberg, Cassandra Rosenberg. Agent STACY GALBRAITH interviewed Joshua Rosenberg by phone on the 24th of August 2018 at 8:47 a.m. Josh is married to Cassandra Cassie Rosenberg, who was previously interviewed by phone by Agent Galbraith on the 15th of August 2018.
And I'll put that video to Cassandra down below in the comments. So if you want to watch that one first and then watch this one, you can do so down in the description.
Cassie works at Lavelle with Thrive, as did Shanann Watts. That is how the Rosenbergs know the Watts. Josh met Chris in person for the first time in Las Vegas for Thrive in February 2018. Shanann, Cassie, Chris, and Josh had all communicated with one another prior to this trip to Vegas. When Josh met Chris in person, they hit it off and started talking. They shared similarities and had things in common. They developed a typical guy friendship. Cassie, Josh, and their children stayed at the Watts' house at the end of May 2018 as they were considering moving to Colorado and looking for houses and getting to know the area. The four then went on a trip to San Diego in June 2018 for Thrive. Josh described the relationship between Chris and Shanann as cohesive, normal, and stated they both showed affection for one another. Any moments of disagreement were normal and insignificant. They had the type of relationship most people want. They were open and honest in their relationship. No relationship problems were ever mentioned by Chris to Josh. Chris recently started working out more and eating healthier. Chris told Josh that Shanann talked to him about his changed eating habits. Josh assured Chris that Cassie talked to him about that when he changed his diet too. He thought that it was within the last month that Chris started changing his diet. He was eating less carbs and eater cleaner. Josh estimated that maybe around May 2018 Chris started working out and running more. He and Chris would trade running times to encourage one another. Josh noticed in San Diego in June that Chris was working out harder and there were changes in Chris's physique from it. Josh did not know about any supplements that Chris took, but knew that he used Thrive and said, "We all do." Josh does not know about the finances of Chris and Shanann. Josh never asked Chris and Chris never divulged anything about his finances. Josh thought it felt like they were a normal family on a normal budget. I asked what Josh knew about Chris's job. Chris worked in the oil field. He monitored and inspected systems pertaining to the oil fields. He believed Chris worked out in the field and did not get the impression that he was in an office. Chris had a work truck that he drove from location to location. Chris did not mention having friends at work. Josh last talked to Chris by phone on the 13th of August 2018. Chris called Josh and told him that he did not know what to do about Shanann and the kids being missing. He told Josh he was lost. Josh encouraged that all anyone could do was make calls and try to figure out what happened. Chris said he felt uneasy. Josh told Chris, You know how this looks, alluding to the belief that something had gone wrong involving them. Chris acknowledged that and told Josh that he did not know what to do. He said he felt like everyone was mad at him and he did not know who to call. Chris said he did not know how anyone could think he could do it. Josh told Chris that he needed to do everything he could. This phone call from Chris felt different to Josh than a call from the Chris he knew. Josh felt it was like Chris was looking for information, which was not like him. It did not feel like Chris and did not seem like Chris wanted Josh to do anything for him, but more like Chris was trying to find out how Cassie and the friends of Shanann felt. Chris did not seem genuine to Josh. Chris told Josh that he just talked to Nicole Atkinson and said that Shanann had gone to a friend's house. He said that he saw Nicole on the doorbell camera at his house. Josh texted Chris on the 14th of August 2018 to ask for updates. Chris replied that police were getting the missing person report ready. Josh knew from Cassie and Shanann that there were changes in Chris over the 4 to 5 weeks prior to Shanann's Arizona trip. There was discussion about divorcing or separating. When Chris was in North Carolina with Shanann and the kids, Shanann had said he was cold, inattentive, and did not show love. It was not the Chris they knew. I asked about Josh knowing of a discussion about separation/divorce between Chris and Shanann. He said that Cassie often FaceTimed him while at the conference and he often saw the group of girls and chatted with them. On Saturday night, the 11th of August 2018, Shanann learned of a charge that she was concerned about, given that Chris was supposedly at a Rockies game with friends from work. Shanann was visibly upset and crying when discussing this in Arizona.
She knew.
Shanann said she did not understand what had changed. She said that she loved Chris.
It was NK that changed everything.
And did not know why he did not love her. Shanann said that Chris wanted to separate and move on, saying he could not do this anymore. The group, to include Josh, talked to Shanann about her strength and assured her it would not be the end as she had the kids and a baby on the way. Shanann expressed that she wanted to be strong for her kids and show them that you can get through life and was positive about it. Shanann wanted to at least try counseling for her kids' sake even if it did not work between her and Chris. Josh and Chris had texted about the new baby. Chris seemed excited through text. Josh said that he immediately knew something had gone wrong with Shanann and the girls due to the state of the house and his knowledge of Shanann. He knew there was zero chance that Shanann would have left the house like it was and without her phone and medication for the kids. Josh was aware of an argument in North Carolina that Shanann had with Chris's parents about a kid allergy. He is certain she would have never left the house without those meds. He said those kids were Shanann's everything and she would have never done anything to jeopardize her kids.
So listening from so far from every single person that we've listened to when it comes to an interview that knew Shanann had stated she would have never touched or harmed her girls. The girls were her life. So for those Shanann haters that want to sit there and say, oh, Shanann did it, you're full of caca.
I asked Josh if he has seen anything about Chris's statement to law enforcement. Josh heard that Chris claimed Shanann killed the kids.
Lie.
Josh told me that the Chris he knew would not have done any of this to begin with. The eyes Josh sees on Chris on TV are not the same, they lack sincerity and soul. Josh thinks that someone gave this scenario to Chris as his only shot to possibly avoid a death penalty. Josh suggested Chris is trying to figure out this lie he has created. Josh said that there is no possible scenario for Chris's statement to be accurate. Even if he had told Shanann he wanted a divorce and was cheating on her. Josh insisted that Shanann would have never done anything to her kids. She would choose her kids over Chris 100 times out of 100, if she would have had to. Josh thinks Chris is saying this in an effort to figure out how to cope with what he did. I asked Josh if there was any indication that Chris may have been cheating on Shanann. Josh said that he does not believe that Chris would have had an affair on Shanann. He believes that anyone can change their mind on things at any point and such is simply human nature. He thinks that Chris possibly changed his mind and decided against a relationship with Shanann, but would have told Shanann before seeking out another woman.
but probably was given the ultimatum. It's either me, when Nicole said that, or it's your family, and the ultimatum was given.
Josh still feels this way about Chris. Josh told me that he feels like there are two Chris's, the Chris he knew and the Chris he now sees in the media. I asked Josh if he thinks there is anyone else who could have done this. There is no one else who could have done this in Josh's opinion. Josh shared a scenario that he thinks could have happened. Shanann came home. Shanann and Chris talked. Chris told her he was done. Shanann got emotional and cried. Chris tried to leave. Shanann tried to stop him. An accident happened and then spiraled out of control. There was a commotion that woke the kids. Chris was someone else at this point. Chris had to eliminate the kids as they were witnesses. Josh said that this is the only logical scenario, as there was no possible way Shanann could have laid a hand on the kids.
There's no
Shanann
way.
lived and worked to make her family's life better as a whole. Shanann had said that if he wants to leave, that was fine. She did not want to give up and would try counseling. It was just not logical for Josh to believe that Shanann could have done anything to hurt her children, as Chris stated. I asked Josh if he had considered that Chris planned anything like this. Josh said that Chris is a very smart guy and if he had planned it out, he would not have gotten caught. I asked if
Or he got caught because he thought he had gotten rid of everything. But again, Nicole Atkinson kind of foiled the whole plan by going over to the house and pretty much saying, Chris, where's Shanann? You need to get here now. So he didn't have time to 100% clean up like he probably wanted to. But then after everything happened, that's when he was cleaning. But he still, the whole wrench was thrown into the engine. And that's why it stalled, is because the case being the engine, the case kind of stalled right there because everything was still there. The purse, the wallets, the credit cards, the medicine, her flip-flops. He didn't have time to grab all that stuff and throw it away.
if it was possible that Chris had not considered that Shanann's friends would have been actively looking for her Monday morning. Josh felt like Chris would have planned for that, had he considered or thought about or planned for more than 2 hours before he did it. Josh feels Chris did not plan it and that it was in the heat of the moment. Chris knew his truck had GPS in it and he told Josh about it and did not use it for personal things. Chris knew that Shanann was attached to her phone and that she is the type who responds immediately to texts. I asked about Josh's knowledge of Chris's mental health. Josh had no concerns. He did not know Chris to see counselors or take medications for mental health matters.
Probably should have.
Josh described Chris as pretty calm and level-headed. He was not the type to get angry or upset. He was frustrated by normal things such as the gym being too crowded, as it was in San Diego. It was nothing out of the ordinary to Josh. I asked about the trip to Colorado in May in which Josh and his family stayed with the Watts. They arrived on a Monday morning and Chris was already at work. They hung out with Shanann and the kids. Chris got home maybe around 3 to 4 p.m. He parked along the street and the truck stayed there. His work truck is a pickup, maroon or brown in color. There was stuff in the back. Chris never parked the truck in the driveway when Josh was there. Josh did not see Chris come from or go to the truck for work or over the weekend. Josh was inside each time. I asked about Shanann's mental health. Josh described her as being a
So how close did Josh live?
normal woman emotionally. She was loving, open, good, kind, transparent, a giver, a great host, passionate, even keel, extraordinary, loved to make people happy, would not get mad, tried to work problems out, not over-exaggerated, no drama. Josh thought Shanann took medication for lupus and fibromyalgia. Josh knew that Shanann had been in a bad relationship with an ex-husband in the past. Things stuck with her and shaped her into being the loving person she was. Josh wanted to reiterate that those close to Chris and Shanann, as he and Cassie were, and knew who Chris and Shanann were, know that Shanann would not have left her things at the house the way it was or ever put a hand on her kids even in her worst moment. She was kind, loving, open, and even going through the pain of starting over without Chris, she was still focused on being a better example for her kids. He does not know how anyone could see otherwise. Josh believes that Chris killed the kids too. He thinks something went wrong and spiraled out of control, and he was now lying because he cannot deal with what he did. Cassie came to the phone to provide that she and Josh are moving to Colorado next week and provided their new address of Westminster, Colorado. Cassie also wanted to make sure investigators know that there was an Amazon Alexa in the Watts house that may have recorded something to aid in the investigation.
There was an Amazon Alexa? Alexa, stop. Because usually, because you can actually have your Echo Dot record things that you've asked it to do. I wonder if they did. I might have to look into that.
Assured her that was known and thanked her and encouraged her to reach out with other thoughts or information that comes to her. Interview concluded at 10 a.m. Josh forwarded screenshots of his texts with Chris for this investigation. Review of texts between Josh Rosenberg and Chris Watts. The 29th of May, 3:42 p.m., Arizona time, Josh texts Chris that an application was in. He then congratulated Chris for something. Chris replied, "Thanks, man." He said that he has to make sure she does not do too much and lift anything. They then discuss the application process and how long it takes. The 17th of June, 7:23 a.m., Arizona time, Chris wishes Josh a happy Father's Day and Josh replies the same. The 22nd of June and the 23rd of June, it appears that Josh and Chris are in a hotel with Shanann and Cassie and are chatting about planning and getting food. The 23rd of June, 7:50 a.m. Chris says that Shanann will divorce him if he gets food without her and he would end up like the homeless guy yelling at himself on the street. The 24th of June, they chat about the weather and heat. The 6th of July, they joke about Josh applying for a job. The 6th of July, 6:48 a.m., Arizona time, Josh asked Chris how the bachelor
life
was. Chris replied in 1 minute that he was working out a lot, picking up weekend shifts. He said it was going by fast so far. The 6th of July, 6:50 a.m. Josh asks if it feels weird being in the house alone. The 6th of July, 7:16 a.m. Chris replies that he was trying to eat a little cleaner with no kids around. He said, "It's a little weird, but I've been keeping busy." The 8th of August, 7:52 a.m. Josh
Why is there a picture of the speedometer?
Asked Chris if he was excited about the ultrasound. The 8th of August, 9:12 a.m. Chris replied that today was the day, 7 p.m., and that he was excited. Josh said he was secretly hoping it is a boy. Chris replied, "LOL, yeah, me too." 8 August, 11:44 a.m. Chris texted about eating cleaner and Shanann giving him the 3rd degree for him refusing to eat a few things. He said he can see his abs again and is working hard to get cut. He said that combining Thrive and eating lean meats is making a big difference. Chris texted that he had come to realize that abs are made in the kitchen. The 8th of August, 8:02 p.m. Josh texts about waiting patiently. Chris tells him that the envelope is sealed until next weekend. Josh asks if they are going to do a reveal. Chris replies, "Yes, sir." The 10th of August, 6:51 a.m. Josh texted to congratulate Chris, "Congrats, buddy. Little man is a lucky boy." Chris replied, "Thanks, man." The 11th of August, 9:04 p.m. Josh texts Chris asking if he is still awake. Chris immediately replies that he is headed home from a Rockies game. Josh asks him to let him know when he is not driving, because he has a question. The 12th of August, 7:09 a.m. Chris replied, "What's up, bro? Sorry I passed out once I got home." Josh replied to ask to make sure Chris was okay with his family being at his house, if need be. Chris replied that it was cool. Chris asked when Josh thought his family would be moving to Colorado for a job Josh took with True Value. Josh estimated 1 month.
I just talked to Nikki, you lying sack of crap.
Chris texted that the Rockies game was crazy and gave some scoring info. Josh said he saw on ESPN
Yeah, that dude looked it up. You know he did.
and had only been to 2 moments like that. Chris replied, "It was epic." 13 August, 11:16 a.m., Arizona time, Josh texted to ask if Chris had heard from Shanann today because Cassie and Nikki could not get a hold of her. Chris replied that he had just talked to Nikki. Chris texted that Shanann went to a friend's house with the kids and he had not heard from her since, but would keep him updated. The 14th of August. 5:59 a.m., Arizona time, Josh texted for any word and asked how Chris was doing. Chris replied that there was no word at all. The cops were getting the missing person report ready. Chris said he was at home sick to his stomach. It seems, according to Josh, that Chris started eating better and working out in May. This is when he apparently met Kessinger, so it does seem like she was a catalyst of him changing himself, getting fitter and running. We also heard from her interviews that she was also telling Chris what to eat to get his macros up. When Josh was talking to Chris on the 13th of August, Chris told Josh that he did not know how anyone could think he could do it, as regards to Shanann and the girls missing. This statement would have rang alarm bells in me. Do what? What is Chris referring to doing? I would 100% have been alerted by what he said. Josh also verifies that Shanann knew about Chris wanting to separate and move on, because Chris said he could not do this anymore.
So he knew about it, but probably didn't think anything of it because divorce, unfortunately, happens more nowadays than it should. Not much too different, or not much different from a couple of the other interviews that we heard. He didn't know certain things, but kind of was puzzled in certain aspects here and there, but nothing that's gonna raise any red flags for us that would point towards a mistress or whatever have you. So if you guys heard anything that you would like to raise a red flag to, comment down below, timestamp it so we can definitely look at it again and see what you guys' thoughts are or your opinions and so forth and such. So again, I thank you guys for watching. Please take care, be safe, and as always, keep nerding on, and we will see you guys in the next video.